All right, let's plug in and really deconstruct the sound of Teru from my first story. If you're a fan of Japanese rock, you know his guitar work is powerful, it's melodic, and it's just huge. So today, we're going to break down his gear, his amp settings, and maybe most importantly, the really unique way he thinks about playing the guitar. Let's get into it. And everything, literally everything we're about to talk about starts right here with this one idea. For Teru, a guitar isn't just wood and wires, it's basically a video game controller. And this single thought is the key. It's the Rosetta Stone to understanding every single piece of gear he picks up and every knob he turns. It's such a creative, playful, and honestly, a really powerful way to look at music. So, here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that gamer philosophy. Then we'll get into the actual tools, his guitars and amps. After that, we'll dive into the magic, which is his effects and settings. And then we'll wrap it up by showing you how you can get started building a sound like this on your own. Okay, so first things first, let's get inside his head. Because for Teru, this isn't just some cool-sounding quote he came up with. No, this is the actual blueprint for his entire sound. It's all about executing the right moves at just the right time to get the desired outcome. Think about it like this. In a video game, you press a button, you input a command, and something happens on screen. For Teru, fretting a note, picking a string, that's the exact same thing. And his pedal board? That's just the customization menu, where he gets to tweak his character's abilities and special moves. This whole approach just makes the technical side of guitar feel less like practice and way more like you're just playing. Now, of course, every gamer needs the right hardware. You need your controller, you need your console. And for Teru, his guitars and amps are exactly that. They're the tools that let him execute all those commands with serious precision and power. But here's where Teru's whole approach gets really interesting, kind of unconventional. Before he even cares how a guitar plays or what it sounds like, he has to think it looks cool. I'm serious. If it doesn't grab him visually, he won't even pick it up. For him, that visual spark is the real starting point for creating any kind of sound. And following that role has led him to this awesome, diverse collection of guitars. He's got a Fender Jazzmaster with 2 humbuckers, which is just perfect for that big, loud rock sound that My First Story is known for. He also has a custom-built guitar from Combat Guitars made just for him. And then for different flavors, he'll grab a classic Gibson Les Paul for those thick, singing solo tones, or a Fender Strat for its incredible versatility. It can do anything from crystal cleans to really biting, distorted sounds. But you know this, a great guitar is really only half the story. The true heart of any electric guitarist's tone, the engine that drives the whole thing, that's the amplifier. And Teru relies on 2 absolute titans of the amp world. His main sound, his core tone, comes from the legendary Marshall JCM 800. I mean, it's the rock amp, famous for that warm, crunchy distortion and great cleans. But for bigger stages or when he just needs a more modern, more aggressive high-gain sound, he'll switch over to a Mesa Boogie Dual Rectifier. It's all about having the right tool for the specific job. Okay, so we've got the guitar and the amp. The core sound is established. Now it's time for that customization phase of the game. This is where Teru brings in his effects pedals to add all the color, the depth, and the unique character that makes his tone his own. His signal chain is super direct and really effective. Starts with a tuner, of course, gotta be in tune, then it hits an overdrive pedal. And this is key. It's not for crazy distortion, it's really just to push the front end of his Marshall a little harder. From there, you've got modulation like chorus to add space, and then delay and reverb to build that depth and atmosphere. It's a classic setup for a very good reason. It just works. And within that chain, these 3 pedals are the real workhorses. That Ibanez Tube Screamer is absolutely crucial for tightening up his distorted tone and making sure it slices right through the mix. The Boss Chorus gives his clean parts that signature, shimmering, spacious quality you hear in so many of their songs. And then the Boss Digital Delay, well, that adds the essential depth and epic feel to all his lead lines. So we've seen the gear, we know what he uses, but how does he actually set it all up? What are the specific commands he's inputting into his main amp, that Marshall JCM 800, to get his foundational rock tone? Let's take a look. First up, the gain. He keeps it right around a 6 or a 7. This is enough for a really solid rock crunch, but it's not so maxed out that the sound just turns into mush. This way, you can still hear all the individual notes in a chord, which is super important for clarity. Next up, the mids, also hanging out around 6 or 7. Now this is a classic rock move. Pushing the mid-range is what helps a guitar punch through a really dense band mix. It's the frequency range where the guitar really lives and breathes and gets heard. He actually keeps the bass pretty controlled, somewhere around a 4 or 5. And what this does is it prevents the low end from getting all boomy and fighting with the bass guitar. It keeps the whole band's sound powerful, but also really tight. And finally, the presence is set pretty low, just between 3 and 4. This keeps the tone bright enough to cut, but it stops it from ever sounding harsh or getting that painful, ice-picky sharpness. See? It's all about finding that perfect sweet spot. So, we have totally deconstructed the philosophy, the hardware, and the settings. Now let's talk about the fun part, how you can take these ideas and start your own sonic journey. And here is probably the most crucial takeaway from all this. You do not need to go out and spend thousands of dollars on his exact gear. That's not the point. The philosophy, that gamer's approach, is so much more important. You can totally get a similar vibe with way more accessible and affordable stuff. So for example, instead of hunting down a vintage JCM 800, a modern Marshall DSL 40 CR will get you incredibly close. You don't need a top-of-the-line American Strat. A Fender Player Stratocaster is a fantastic versatile guitar. A multi-effects unit like the Boss ME80 can handle all your modulation, delay, and reverb in one shot. And if you just want one drive pedal, a Boss Blues Driver is an awesome and affordable alternative to a tube screamer. So let's just boil it all down. What are the core lessons here? First, adopt that gamer mindset. Have fun with it. Second, choose gear that you think looks awesome. Inspiration is huge. Third, build your sound on a solid classic tube-amp foundation. Fourth, use your effects strategically to make the song better. And finally, always remember that every single choice you make, from the guitar you pick up to the tiniest pedal, should be about serving the music. We've broken down Teru's philosophy, his gear, and the commands he uses to build his sound world. So the real question now is, what are you going to do with all this? What sonic commands will you start inputting? And what kind of musical world are you going to build? The game is officially yours to play.